Welcome back to Mr. Wicklam's virtual classroom, where today what we are going to be looking at is describing and creating patterns. Now, you've all seen this typical pattern, 3, 5, 7, 9. And what is that pattern doing? That if you said that pattern is increasing, you are correct. Now let's take a look at the next pattern, 10, 8, 6, 4. What is that pattern doing? Decreasing. Okay, you don't need me to teach you about more increasing and decreasing patterns because you've already done that. Now, what happens is, especially in real life, what you're going to see is that you're going to see a bank account where you put a deposit in and then money's going to come out. I mean, I just did it today where I put money in and then the next thing you know, I took money out and I spent some money at Tim Hortons or McDonald's or wherever people are going to spend money, Walmart, and that's what's going to happen is you're going to have money come in and you're going to have money go out. So let's take a look at a different situation. So Bob saves $80. Okay, so Bob has $80, and what happens is that he receives an allowance every 2 weeks. So Bob's going to receive an allowance every 2 weeks. Now Mr. Wicklam just made a mistake. This should be the 20th. It's every 2 weeks. So he's going to get his allowance plus 20. So that's his allowance. Okay, so when he has $80 to start with, he gets his allowance of $20. How much is Bob going to have in his account on September 6th? Because he gets his allowance on September 6th, so he's got 80 plus 20, which is 100. So what's going to happen is Bob's going to buy a book. Okay, so he spends $11 on his book. Okay, so when Bob spends $11 on his book, we need to figure out what's left in his account. And if you came up with $89, you would be correct. Now, Bob sees that the newest movie's coming out. Let's say he wants to go see Star Wars again for like the 15th time, and so he's going to spend $20. He's going to spend $20 for a movie and popcorn. Okay, because let's face it, what's a movie without having some popcorn, right? So Bob goes and sees the Star Wars movie again for the 5th time, buys some popcorn to enjoy that, and it's popcorn drink combo because you gotta have a drink to wash down the combo or popcorn. Let's be honest. And so he spends $20 there, and so he now has $69 left in his bank account. Well, lo and behold, September 20th comes along, and Bob receives his $20 allowance. And when Bob receives his $20 allowance, it pops him back up to $89. So when Bob's looking at the kind of 2 week period that he had there, you know, he actually went and he spent $31, but he made 40. So in the end, he was up some money, right? So what happens is in the end he's plus $9. And so that's what's going to happen, guys. You're going to see times where sequences are going to go up and down. They're going to fluctuate. Okay, just like real life. Real life, your bank account, it's going to fluctuate. It's going to go up, it's going to go down. You get paid, then you go buy stuff. That's just the way the world works. Now, what you need to figure out and what we're going to be looking at today is we're going to be looking at if sequences are increasing, decreasing, or whether they're doing both. And so what we're going to do is we're going to look at sequence A. So we're going to take a look here. So you have to look at every term. You need to look at every term in order to figure this out, because if you just look at the first 2 terms and you say, oh, 12 to 17, so that's plus 5. Okay, if you're just looking at the terms like that and you just look at the first 2 terms, you're going to get it wrong the majority of the time. Because here we're looking at whether they're increasing, decreasing, or both. And so we look at this one. This is increasing, then it goes from 17 to 14. So then we decrease. by 3. I'm just going to write outside the circle. I made the circle a little too small, so I want to write outside it so you can see it. So the gap here is minus 3. Then we look at 14 to 19, and we are going up 5. Okay, so what is this sequence doing? It is doing both. So if it's doing both, we'll put a B. Okay, so if we're increasing, we'll use an I. If we are decreasing, we'll use a D, and both, we'll use a B. Okay, just for short form. So let's take a look at our next sequence. Well, we're going down. How much? We're going down 9. Okay, what are we doing again? Okay, so it's decreasing. We're going down 8. And then what are we doing? We come back up and we go up 6. So what's that doing? That's doing both. It's both increasing and decreasing. Okay, so let's take a look at our next sequence. So we're going down 2, we go down 5, and we go down again. We go down 7. So again, don't just assume that if you look at the first two terms, you're going to know exactly what's happening in this sequence. So we're decreasing. Let's take a look at the next one. 10 to 18, what are we doing? We're going up 8. Plus 8. We got 18 to 26, what are we doing? Going up 8. And we have 26 to 32, which means we're going up 6. So we are increasing. Okay, now what we need to figure out is that, you know, there's still patterns. Okay, and it's patterns in the fact that it's increasing and it's decreasing. What we need to do is we need to kind of describe those patterns. We need to take a look at those patterns, because sometimes they're going to do both. Sometimes they're going to increase by the same amount. Sometimes they're going to decrease by the same amount. Sometimes they're going to increase by different amounts, decrease by different amounts, and repeat, or increase and decrease. So let's take a look at our next set of examples. And if you can see the writing down at the bottom, what I would like you to do is I would like you to figure this out. I'd like you to see whether these patterns are increasing by the same amount, decreasing by the same amount, increasing by different amounts, decreasing by different amounts, or whether they are increasing and decreasing. Now you'll notice that there's 6 patterns. You're going to use one of those letters twice. Okay, so what I'll do is I will go through the first one with you, and let's figure it out. Now, what you're going to have to figure out is you're not going to have to only figure out whether it's increasing or decreasing, but you're also going to have to figure out by how much, because we want to know if it's increasing or decreasing by the same amount or by different amounts. Okay, so we'll take a look at the first one. So we're going down -1 at the first. Then we go down 2. Our gap becomes 2, 2 again, and then 1. So what is that telling us then? So it's decreasing for sure, but by the same amount? Well, 1 and 2, I don't know about you, but me, they're not the same. So what we're doing is we are decreasing by different amounts. So the letter we would want to put in there would be D. Now what I would like you to do is I would like you to just kind of take a look at the next 5. I would like you to figure those out, whether you need to write those on a piece of paper, whether you can do those in your head. That is totally up to you. But what I would like you to do is I would like you to take a look at those, and I want you to make sure in your head that you know whether they are increasing or decreasing by the same amount, by different amounts, or whether they are just increasing and decreasing. What I would like you to do is I would like you to take a look at those. I would like you to write those down, especially the letters, what they're doing. It would be more than helpful to write the gaps in there so that you know exactly what's going on and exactly what is happening. And as I always say, when it comes to a test, if you show your work, and maybe you don't get the final answer right, but I can give you some credit for showing your work. So I would definitely be writing these gaps in there. Okay? Write that down. I would like you to show me, and then what you can do is you can do the work that is up on the board. This is Mr. Wicklam signing out.